Great left hand by Isaiah Johnson.
He's scared to counter.
Oh, left hand to the body sends Frank Brown down for the second time in this fight. And for twice, it was body shots that did it.
You can put a fork in him. I believe he's done.
Yeah.
That will end this fight. Isaiah Johnson.
Welcome to IPTV.
Rufus, our featured guest, Rick Ross, is having a little bit of a technical difficulty, so he's going to join us. But what I'd like to do now is I would like to have each of our panelists say their name and the vignette you're in and your character. And let's start with, I'm sorry, you guys, I'm a little partial to the culture, so I gotta one first acknowledge a legend in the building, Digga. And I would be remiss if I did not say hello to a queen. Thank you for everything you've done for the culture. And so, Rob, would you please one say your name and then the vignette within the anthology that you're in and the character you play.
Digga, flip mode squad, ow. So, oh my goodness.
Damn.
So now I don't know the formal acts by name, but I am. I have two characters. So in the overall picture, I play Rick Ross's wife, who's coming out in her bonnet, telling him stop scaring Sharon. And within the story, I'm not an animal story. I don't know the name of that one.
That's called The Role of a Lifetime.
The Role of a Lifetime, yes. And my character was, am I Clarissa? What's my name in that role? I'm sorry.
So you were Clarice in the main narration story,
but I knew there was a Clarice or something. Okay. So,
Clarice in that story, yes.
Okay. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Rod. And then Sherard.
Hey everybody, how are you? I'm Sherard, host of the Sherard Show. I'm the opening scene. I'm actually Officer Charlie. I'm in the opening scene with the morgue. And I appreciate it. It was a great show, great film. I really enjoyed the whole cast and crew, and thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Annalisa.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Annalisa Guidone, and I played Luciana, which is a unrequited love for her mans. And I was in the crawling vegetables towards the middle of the film.
And David.
Hey, what's up, good people? David Scott Greene, stemming off of Luciana. I played Amos in I think it was either climbing vegetable, cooking vegetables, sauteing vegetables, some of the vegetables.
Jimmy
James. Can you hear me? Am I on the mic? Okay, I played Sal, and I go up against this brother right here. In my scene, I'm in the bar scene, playing the gangster like always. But yeah, and they cast me as the gangster in this movie, and it was really fun. Yeah, in the bar scene.
Thanks, Spooky.
My name is Spooky Ruben. This is my third film with Mars Roberge. Yeah. In Rufus, I play Dr. Saul, who is kind of like a British mad scientist doctor. And in the episode with Annalisa, which is called Crawling Vegetables.
Well, I'm in Climbing Vegetables.
Climbing Vegetables.
Thank you so much. And now, Debra, are you in the film?
Oh, yeah.
I am. I play Emily in The Role of a Lifetime.
Okay, so what's your whole name, Debra?
Debra Haden.
Debra Haden. Welcome, Debra.
Debra
Okay,
Haden.
and so Kenneth, talk to us about introduce yourself and tell us your role associated with the film.
My name is Kenneth Shaw. I'm one of the producers, along with Mars Beers and co-producer Debra Haden. So I was one of the producers that we just kind of did a little bit of everything, whatever makes the film work. We wore many hats and took care of mostly like the administrative side, with that sort of thing. And then like mostly the New York side, I wasn't able to really shoot on the California side, unfortunately. Just budget reasons, things like that. So mostly when we came to New York, we just helped book locations and move the crew and all the things producers do.
Excellent. And Mars, introduce yourself, sir.
Yeah, Mars Roberge. I'm the filmmaker, writer, director, editor, producer, first AD. Yeah. And there was another writer as well, Erez Mayarentz, who wrote Climate Vegetable Story. So one of the two writers.
Right. And so Mars, anybody who grew up on horror at all, you got to remember Twilight Zone, of course, Elvira, Tales from the Crypt, and then you go all the way up to Tales from the Hood. Tell us the inspiration behind Rufus.
So growing up, I always liked the Twilight Zone, like the very first ones that came out. And I was drawn to like the films that were more about bizarre, like Poltergeist and that. I was more into that than the slasher films. And I liked the films that had a family dynamic, that had a bit of humor to it as well. Movies like Fright Night. And this is my fifth feature film, but this is my first horror film. And I was inspired when I was showing my movie I made called Scumbag at Lund International Fantastic Film Festival in Sweden, which was a horror film festival. And we were not a horror film. We were just a, dark comedy about tragedy. But the program director really liked one of our actors, so they sent us out. And I saw just how dedicated that horror audience is, watching shark movies in an Olympic swimming pool at night with no lifeguard and stuff like that. And I thought, I want to do a film that's in this vein. I want to tap into the horror genre, but I want to bring back the weird aspect of horror, because it doesn't have to always just be scary. It can be nonsensical, and that's what I wanted to do with Rufus.
I'm sure he thinks I overlooked him, but it was intentional so we can segue into the very first short. So you have Angelo Moore from the band Fishbone. Angelo, tell us who do you play in the movie, and then we're going to talk about your character.
Okay, so my character is the doctor. I'm the doctor. Then what's the brother's name? The Shepherd Show. What's his name again? What's your name again, man?
The Sherard Show. I'm Sherard.
Right, Gerard. So when Gerard comes in, Gerard's playing the cop. Mm-hmm. Sherard. So when Sherard comes in and he's playing the cop and he wants me to sign the paper to make sure that the guy is dead, right? So that's our scene when we drinking, and then I gotta embalm the guy, make sure that he's dead, and then I'm drinking, I'm drunk, I slip on some shit, I cut my hand on it, I get some of his blood in me, and then my hands turn on me.
Okay, wait. I have a question. Let's not give away too much of the movie, right? Because there'll be some people who haven't seen it yet. But I have a question. How does a musician go to playing a mortician? Like, what is that transition like?
Well, I mean, if you got some actor in you, you can act it. If you got actor in you, you can do that. Just like when you singing a song, you got to remember lyrics when you singing a song, right?
He's an artist. Look at him. Artist.
Yeah, I'm an artist, man. Oh my God, I need to show y'all the rest of my place. I don't even want to get started, man. Look at this shit. Hold up. Before I even start, is Raw Digga still on there?
Mm-hmm.
Is that you?
It is. That would be me.
Yeah.
Look, I look a lot different outside my work clothes.
I just had to
Sexy
make
mama.
For you guys who are just tuning
sure Ross
in,
picked up Buster Rhymes. Okay.
we are on with the cast of the film Rufus, which is streaming on UIN. It's up for pay-per-view. If you're part of the film festival, you may also be able to watch it as part of your festival package. And
Actually, this
Angelo
room
Moore
here
is giving
reminds
us a
me of
tour of
Ruben.
his home.
Look at this shit. So this is the music room. This reminds me of the movie because this is my dark room here. This is where all the music happens. This is all the masks, right? We got all my crazy shit up in here. This is where I record everything. All my stuff.
So, I mean, obviously, since you're showing us the recording room and you were highlighting Rob, what was it like filming this movie and then obviously filming with Angelo and Rick Ross?
Well, I actually had the pleasure of meeting Rick prior to doing this film. So once we teamed up again on set, it was cool. But I had the privilege of filming on both coasts. I haphazardly found myself on the West Coast in Los Angeles. So when Mars reached out to me about this role, I said, well, you're in luck because I'm going to be on the West Coast during this particular time. So we were able to get those scenes done, the initial outside in the rain. And I actually had just got my hair done in real life. So when he was looking for, because it was an extremely rainy day that day. So when he was looking for me to just kind of have my coming out of the house look, I'm like, okay, perfect. I can keep my head covered. I don't got to mess up my head. So that was, that was a fun day with Rick, and Rick improv'd a lot because he didn't really have the script memorized like that. So that was fun, just kind of bouncing back and forth with him in that energy. And then fast forward sometime, the film is coming to a close, and Mars, this is my second project working with Mars. Shouts out the stars. He asked me, would I be interested in taking up another role? But this role is this filming is taking place on the East Coast. And I was like, well, buddy, you're in luck because as I just so happened to be on the East Coast. So I was able to do that scene, and it wasn't too labor intensive. That particular scene was really about everybody else, and Angelo, and all of the rest of the wonderful cast were really doing their thing. I was just there kind of like, tricking Miss Haden into fulfilling her role in the show before the big reveal. So it was pretty cool, man.
No, and that's a great toss to Debra because I think that of all the characters, when people see the imagery of you, it does really inspire horror. So talk to us about the role and how you kind of got into that character.
Well, I kind of just because I had to create the rats in post. So really I had to use my imagination,
Right.
I'm pretty good at turning my emotions on and off. So that part was easy. So you just kind of lean into the terror. And so for me, really, it's I memorize it until I can't memorize anymore. And then the lines come out naturally, and I just focus on feeling the emotions. Because if I had, basically it was a lot of just creating in my head.
Right.
That's
and so
how I had to do it for that.
how you manufacture that emotion without anything to play on?
You kind of try to find possibly something in real life that maybe made you feel scared or sad, because I could kind of overlap those two emotions, because wouldn't you be sad if in a weird way, if something bad was about to happen to you and you knew it, you knew you were going to have this, like, I don't want to give away too much, but
right, because yours is tricky to talk about
know
without
where
giving
you're
away
going.
a lot.
You kind of know it's going to happen. You're like, oh man, I know where this is going. Like, and there, I feel like there's a certain point where she really knew her fate was going to end up a certain way. And just kind of leading into that, those times in life where you just kind of have to let go, but this was extreme, where you're like, okay, this is bad. There's nothing I can do about it.
And so, Mars, talk about when you saw where she went with it in terms of how you envisioned it as you were writing it, and then what Debra was able to do with it. Just talk about what you witnessed her do.
So I'm pretty hands-on with everything when I do a film, but this film, it relied a lot on special effects, which I know nothing about. That's her department. She does special effects, and I had a guy in Canada named Riley do it for us. And I remember turning to her and go, look, I have all these people flown to New York and we're filming a stage that I rented. Are you really going to be able to make some cool looking rats and things? Because I'm just assuming you are. And it worked out, so I just I plan to I envisioned certain things, and I play off the actors as if those animation things are really there, and I'll stand in kind of for the animation things, and we'll communicate through our director of photography to how we're going to do this. But I'm assuming it's there. I was really I felt relieved in the end when I saw these effects actually get pulled off, because I was like, wow, if these effects aren't there, we got no characters, we got nothing going on, So it was a little nerve-wracking, but not having that, just having to trust that things are going to be taken care of, And lucky for us, the technology for visual effects has gotten a lot easier over time, whereas I would have needed a much larger budget and a lot more people to even attempt to do what we did on this one, just a few years before we shot. So,
and he brought Jeff Riley on to help me. Because I wanted to focus on what I had to do. I got worried that then if I had to do all these other vignettes too, that would take away from the look of mine. And I knew that they were going to be the hardest part what he was asking of that was going to be the hardest part to pull off. So that's why I knew emotionally I had to bring it and get that exactly right. Even down to the singing of the song. And I knew I had to bring that there. And then I knew what I had to add later, if that makes any sense. So I had to piece it. And he kind of knew. I've been working in that. I've been teaching myself that for like the last, 13 years. So he had an idea I could do it, but
Yeah. So she's been in 4 of my films now, and it's always the hardest the first time to get those emotions out. And once we get those emotions, I can say, okay, I want you to cry kind of like in Scumbag, but a little less like Mr. Sister. And then we'll put more fear like in Stars. And they know what I'm talking about. But the normal actor that I'm working with for the first time is not going to have any idea. But it's like, yeah, we spent a long time getting an emotion on one film and a long time getting it on another. Now I can just and same with my DPs. I can say, okay, we're going into overdrive mode like Mr. Sister, and they know what that means is how we're going to handheld shots and how it's when we take the script and we throw it there and we got to get certain things done. We got kind of like, it's like a football team. You get like your secret game plans on what we're going to do next. And you get that over time working with the same people.
Annalisa, a couple of things jumped out in this is that, trust, right? And then trying to also manufacture these emotions. Talk to us about what kind of trust it takes as an actor to just even be in a horror film, and then how you got into character for this role.
So, well, what's wild is I got hit up to be in this movie by surprise. I had went back to school, went to nursing school. I was literally being a nurse. I've been a nurse for 2 years now. And they call me and they're like, Spooky's like, hey, do you want to be in this movie? And I was like, hell yeah. Like, I love acting, And so then I was like, what's the role? And they're like, it's a nurse. And I was like, oh, really? Like, it was just so ironic. And stuff like that happens to me all the time. And so to really tap into how I was in love with David Greene, his character Amos, and he's in a coma, and I'm a nurse from Mexico. It's just like a wild ride, and I was just here for it, you know? Like I think everyone as an artist, as an actor, it's like we just love I love any opportunity I can get to be someone else, to dive into someone else's emotions. And I just love reading a script and being like, dude, this person needs me to tell their story. And I just think of it from like a service aspect. And what I did for this role was, because it was such an unrequited longing mission to get to this dude that I was in love with. I reached out to this guy from high school that I was in love with, and I just spilled my guts to him of everything I never told him before, because I was like, okay, if I have to do this for this person, like I have to have the balls to do it, to even access that type of stuff. So I did that, and I like had an obsession for a second, but I did it for Luciana and I did it for Amos, and it was just so fun. I had a whole playlist that I would listen to of music. Like that was just coming out of character was kind of challenging though, but I just was so grateful to be like, I didn't do it to be on a poster or to like get paid. Like I did it because I wanted to be part of like this really dope ass project with really amazing artists. And it was such a cool experience. I would work with Mars and Debra again. They made me feel so comfortable, and there's a part where I have to like do some weird like twerking dance thing, and I won't give too much away. But when I had to go there, like for a lot of a lot of that made it to the movie. But anyways, there was a girl there that like was my choreographer, and I was just following what she was, because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know I was gonna have to do that. So you trust the process, okay? What you think's gonna happen and what actually happens, you have to be there for it, man. Okay? That's how art goes. You have to be there for it. And that's all.
So your new nickname is Annalisa DiCaprio, full-on method actress.
Oh yeah.
So you can't, I don't know if you can see, David literally almost fell out of his chair when you were talking about
because he had to be a vegetable. He wasn't allowed to blink or move, or he literally for 12 hours straight, him and Princess Frank were laying in, I don't even know if there was a real mattress in that bed. He could have been laying on wood, I don't know, but he had to lay like this while I'm doing all this crazy stuff. And Mars is like, keep going. And everyone's like, where is this going? Okay, let's go.
That's a great setup. So Spooky, talk to us about your character and what it was like to work with David. And then David, obviously, we're going to have you share the same.
Okay, so basically when Mars gave me the script, first of all, I was blown away by it. Was like, I think it was, how many pages is the script? It was the longest thing I've ever
memorized, like 55 pages or something like that.
Yeah, 55 pages, which is very challenging. In fact, I don't know how many times we went back to Mars and said, "Are you sure you want us to learn all these lines?" Or but I guess in the end, and then the question that kept coming up is like, "Are you sure you want me to do this British accent for the doctor?" And so, because I was kind of thinking, but I think, in the end it worked out. So, it was fun for sure. It was definitely, we had a blast doing it. Even the rehearsals were more funnier than the movie. No, I don't want to say that. But like, I had a lot of fun with Annalisa, and who was I'm trying to think of the other actress's name that we were working with a lot. It was Annalisa and
Princess Frank?
Jennifer, yes, Jennifer Drake. Because we did a bunch of rehearsals at her house actually, and trying to choreograph. I remember at one point Mars was like, had us set up in like in this like square in outside at like that park in West Hollywood. I forgot the name of the park.
Pan Pacific Park.
Yes,
Pan Pacific.
He basically outlined this like 9x9 square line on grass, and he was trying to choreograph where we would stand, and it was, I mean, it was out there, you know. It was definitely, we went all the way with it, you know, for sure. It was crazy.
So Jimmy, I mean, not to make any assumptions about you at all, but you know, you feel like you have a very LA West Coast. Maybe you've been around the street world a little bit. Talk to me about what it was like to work with Rick Ross. You're muted again. Wait a minute. I may need to unmute you.
Unmute, bro.
There you go.
All right, I'm on. I was trying to change my name until you got me, so I had to leave Jimmy James up there. And nah, I didn't even get a chance to work with Rick Ross. I mean, meet him when we were doing the film, and I was hoping I can meet him here. So he's having problems getting on.
Yeah, no, he's gonna be joining us shortly. They've been texting through, so I think he's gonna have to get on from his car. But from a mobile, he was trying to use maybe a computer or something. But tell me, you know, obviously, have you done horror before, and what was it like to be in a horror film?
This is my first one with Mars, and first a horror movie. You know, it was pretty cool. You know, going against Angelino and shit. You know, gangsters don't die. It's supposed to be the other way around. But anyways, you know, they cast me as a gangster. I grew up in that lifestyle. And, you know, breaking away from it was very challenging because you just don't, you know, you just can't get a pass, you know. But I got a pass. But anyways,
And speak to that though. And speak to how you know the life you lived has been able to be lived experience for the filmmaking you're doing now.
because what I portray and of being the gangster in the real life and putting it on the film, you know, it's just like there's no fakeness about it. It's real. That's the character I am. And to be cast as a horror and movie, it was pretty cool because, you know, and I tell Mars, I go, hey man, quit casting me as a gangster. I don't live that life no more, you know? But it doesn't matter, you know.
How do you think other gangsters, you know, young and old OGs, when they see you in a role like this, what do you think their reaction is?
They come up to me and they go, hey man, they go, that's pretty good. You went from homie to the screen. And I go, well, it was just like, I didn't know Mars was a producer. I didn't know his wife was a writer and sound effects. And then I go, wow, I was pretty amazed. And so they kept that from me. But I didn't like Scumbag Mars. I'm sorry, but I like this one better, Rufus. You know, Scumbag, you know, you got in trouble because you let us wear the Raider here and you got in trouble for it. You know, but yeah, and you know, I wanted to meet the whole cast. I didn't meet what's her name right here, Annalisa. I didn't meet Diggs, and I know Spooky already from Scumbags.
We're gonna have to figure out a way to arrange you guys all to be together in physical, and I'm gonna talk to the network, see what we can do about that. Especially for those who are tuning in, we are with the cast of Rufus, which is now streaming on pay-per-view on UIN. Let's get these numbers up so the network will bring them in and do something live. David, you've been over there having the most hooting, hollering, good time. Was it that much fun on the set making this? Because you clearly seem like you've been comatose most of the movie. So
that's the odd part about it. So filming a comatose character in and of itself is unequivocally challenging because, as you can tell by the cast's energy, there is a symbiotic evanescence, especially when we're all together. I haven't been able to work with many of the people on the screen, and hopefully we can rectify that. But this is my second film with Mars, and everything from start to finish is perpetual motion. And I think all of us had to adapt to that. It was unusually challenging to not laugh and just have a grand time. Spooky comes running in. I mean, he's this particular type of doctor, very, very twitchy, very nervous. There's this constant movement. Even when he's standing still, he's not standing still. And then Annalisa comes in. She has a wonderful accent. You know, she's looking very regal, very caring. And then when she starts doing the dance, so I see her in my peripheral here, the young lady she referred to, like 6'3", redhead. So they're both dancing. And I'm thinking, like, I gotta take both of them out to dinner or something. This is too good. This is way too good. And Mars is like, okay.
And I see what you did there. Yeah, I tell you, slipped that in. Go ahead.
Who was she? Who was that woman? She was like cinema magic. Where'd she come from? And that, like, I never, like, where is she? Who was she?
She's Veronica Graves, and our DP, director of photography, Cody Stoffers, knew her and brought her on. And she kind of slowly started taking over everything. And then by the end, Debra and me looked at her and we said, can we adopt you just so we know you're going to be on the next films and stuff? Because she kind of did everything. Yeah. We were amazed.
Saved my performance.
And she like does all this volunteer work things. She runs all this. She's like an amazing person. Just such an asset. I swear, anywhere she would go, she is.
Yeah, right after she helped you, she worked on some disability film festival for people with disabilities. So, you know, that's what she does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sherard, now obviously you host a show, right? What would you tell an audience about this series of vignettes? I mean, because obviously it's not like a straight line movie, right? Where it's just this one theme all the way through. You know, how would you communicate this to somebody who you would just say, hey, what is Rufus about?
I would compare it to Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Hood, kind of like the Creep Show. Just a collection of different stories. Yeah, just a collection of different stories that's not related to each other, but has a powerful meaning to it. So that's what I like to relate it to when I'm describing Rufus to people.
And what was your experience like working on the film?
It was nice. It was nice. I liked working with Mars. He was a guest on my show, and I liked the whole team. But it was cool. I mean, doing and working with the gentleman, you know, from Fishbone, it was fun as well because, you know, we just did the opening scene, and you know, we're in the morgue, and you know, it was just a lot of great energy in terms of us acting and, you know, laughing.
If you were in scenes with Angelo, you got to tell us something funny that happened. I know there's a funny moment that happened because he's just a cut up just right here in this few minutes we've been on the phone.
Yeah. Well, Angelo's hilarious. You know, I've worked with people like him many a time, but there's only one Angelo. But he's just he's just a comedy set wherever he goes. You know, so it's just fun. He has great energy, and it was just great making it. I mean, heck. You know, he didn't need any liquor or even imitate any liquor like we were drunk. You know, he was always felt like he was tipsy, just, you know, with his personality and stuff. But it was welcome. It kept everything fun on the set.
So now, Angelo, you obviously your character is kind of twisted, right? And Annalisa has talked about how, you know, you're on mute, Angelo. Annalisa talked about how, you know, she went full on method actor and some of that energy stayed with her. You know, how did you bring down the light in you to go into this dark place? I mean, because you're exuding light through the screen right now.
Wait, you know what? Y'all couldn't hear me that whole time, huh?
Nope.
No.
God damn, motherfucker. I'm just over here talking and shit. I'm just saying all kind of shit. Ain't nobody replying. I look down and the microphone ain't even on.
Yeah, our producers do a real good job of making sure someone doesn't dominate the show.
Okay, I guess that's that karmic energy, huh? Oh, shit. Well, Sharon, right? I don't want to fuck up your name. Sharon?
Sherard.
So I feel like I've been knowing Sherard for a long ass time, like back in the day somewhere. Is that real, man?
I don't know, man. We work in Chicago somewhere. That's where I'm from.
And did you ever come to one of our shows at the Metro or something like that? Is that what's going on?
I did not, but it does feel like we worked together or something before.
Well,
yeah,
I'm
man, it
hoping
seemed like
y'all
we
got
grew up
real
and worked
good
together
friends
somewhere
to
along
keep
the
his
way.
name right.
Maybe
Well,
you remind
since
me
we're
of
talking about a horror film, it clearly was in a past life.
Ooh,
what?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, it
Kindred
was
spirit.
okay. So, yeah, Sharon. I seemed like I grew up with you. Annalisa. Yeah,
What?
we going out after this. I'm gonna hook up with you after this shit.
Yeah, we
Raw
need to go.
Digga.
We need to go party somewhere.
Yeah, we got to do that. And Raw Digga, I feel like, man, where do I know this sister from, man? It's like you, Raw Digga's got that personality to where I've been knowing her from like definitely from the East Coast. Every time I go to the East Coast and I'm hanging out with motherfuckers there, I'm usually hanging out with people in the New York hardcore scene. But after doing that collaboration with Busta Rhymes, because Busta Rhymes sang on he did a cameo on a Fishbone record. I'm like, I know I done seen you somewhere before, but it's just almost like, you know how you meet people, but you don't really, you see them in a different context, so you really can't put a finger on it.
Angelo, actually, I used to hang out at the Spiral for hardcore. So that used to be one of the places. Maybe I've seen you there also. I don't know.
Mars, you were trying to chime in?
Oh no, I accidentally hit my hand up. I'm good.
Okay, no worries. No. Oh, so, Kenneth, now that you kind of chimed in, what is it like to see that all the people who are associated with this film as a producer, they have this much camaraderie, and tell me, how does that affect and help the process?
Oh, that's always great when everybody gets along. Are you kidding me? Nobody's a diva. I mean, that's one of the things you kind of hope for. It really pushed the film forward. Everybody's getting along, making friends, and for the most part, we always stay in touch with one another. I mean, look at these guys on the LA. They're all going to get ready to go out and hang out. And
You wasn't in the film, were you?
I'm sorry?
You wasn't in the film, no, were you? I don't think I saw you
No.
there.
I was the producer. So I wasn't really able to come to the California side, but I still feel like I know a lot of you guys because I handled your paperwork and I did a lot of stuff like that. Help book the locations for you guys to be in, and I knew like all your names and who was going to be in this scene and that scene. But mostly I worked out in New York, and then when we shot in New York, that's when I met all the New York actors and actresses. But the same invitation when you guys, I know Rod Digga, you're out in New York a lot, even Jersey performing. You guys are out there, let me know, we'll all.
Yep.
Ken has a small acting role in the movie too. He plays Mike.
That's right.
For the last story, the exploding babies story.
Babies, yeah, the babies. That's right. I never considered myself really an actor, hence why I'm behind the scenes. I never like in front of the camera, but I guess I did a good job. I don't know.
And so now, and as far as what are your hopes for the film? And before we get too far along, since you're behind the scenes, are you working on Rufus too?
Question for myself or Mars?
Yeah,
well,
we are.
I'm lobbing it to you since you're already on the mic.
Mars, give me a head nod. How much am I supposed to say?
Yeah, no, we're working on a Rufus too, but I've been writing it down. I've been writing the story. I've got pretty much, I plan out the plots, and I also try to figure out how can I get the people that I've worked with back, including the cast and everybody. So I've written it in my head, and it doesn't take me long to get it out. There's just one of the 4. I might have 6 stories in this one, but it will be done. It'll be called most likely it will be called Rufus 2 FU. But that's another story.
So you know what Rufus stands for, right?
What does it stand for?
You know what Rufus stands for, right? You know it's the abbreviation for something. It's an acronym.
Tell us what it stands for.
It stands for really unusual, fucked up shit.
and that is perfect coming from you, sir.
When I first heard the name, when I first heard Rufus, you know who I automatically thought of?
Who's that?
The band.
I thought of Shaka Khan.
Yeah.
Of course, Rufus is
Shaka Khan.
Woo! Shaka Khan, baby. Let me rock you, Shaka Khan. Because I grew up listening to all that good shit. So I thought about Rufus, and as I was doing the movie, I kept thinking to myself, okay, I know, they're gonna have some music in here by Shaka Khan, or maybe Shaka Khan gonna show up or something like that. Nah, and nothing like that. But
we're gonna play at the party we planning.
Yeah, oh, we're gonna have a Shaka Khan at the party, at the release party. But you know, it's cool because when I talk about the movie to people and I tell them it's Rufus, I always like as I'm explaining to people that it's an acronym from really unusual fucked up shit. I always get to talk about one of my favorite artists I grew up on too. So it's a good one. It's a good double entendre. Man, I gotta ask you a question, man.
What's that?
What is that painting behind you?
Yeah.
The red with the eyes. It's like somebody's doing like that, like somebody's doing
Angry Birds or something like that. Something.
Oh no, that's actually a Razorback. So I'm actually broadcasting from Little Rock, Arkansas, for our Little Rock IPTV affiliate. I'm based out of Los Angeles, but we move around to some of the affiliates and do different filmings from different cities. And so the Arkansas doesn't have a professional team. Their professional team is a college team. It's the Arkansas Razorbacks. So wherever you go, you're going to see various forms of Razorbacks in various iterations. And the slogan is "Go Hogs, Pig Suey."
Damn, go Hog, Pig Suey.
Pig Suey. Yeah.
Me,
if you're at the game,
I thought it was somebody doing that.
Oh, you don't know.
But then I see what's happening.
Yeah, it's horns. It's horns. Yeah.
Angelo, what's your painting? Angelo, what's that yellow painting behind you?
Oh, that's my cousin Vinsula. And Vinsula does all this kind of stuff. Yeah, Vinsula's really good. Vinsula cover out. He makes all this stuff, and then I got the last upper back there. That's me and doing all that. That's me playing all the characters.
For everybody who's just tuning in, we are with the cast of Rufus, cast and producers and writer director and behind the scenes with the CG and side of and special effects. That might cause you to have side effects when you're leaving out the theater.
Side effects.
Yeah, and so and I want to ask David though. So David, we got to talk about like from a critical standpoint. Where do you think this movie will rank? Against those creep shows and those Tales from the Crypts.
That's a good question. These type of movies very much are like cult followings.
Yep.
And a lot of those have pockets of people. I think when people watch the movie and take in each scene in and of itself, and as Sherard had referred to, there's an underlying powerful message. If they understand the underlying subtext of what's occurring between all the scenes and the culmination, they'll put it right up there because there's a lot of very memorable scenes here. Some of the singing, Debra was fantastic. The rats, exploding babies. So you have some off the wall themes, but everything somehow worked. And of course, people who appreciate dancing, you have a lovely lady dancing in the corner. You're like, what is this about? And so there's a lot of eye-catching visuals. And the very least, people will remember it for that, and it will stay amongst the top 5, in my opinion, certainly.
You know what my favorite that I want to know more about, Mars? You know that dog, the little foo-foo dog in one of the skits? I want to know about the special effects of that foo-foo dog.
Oh,
yeah.
That was a plot twist of the twist. That was a plot twist.
Without giving too much away, one of my high school friends, Paul Rue, from back in Toronto, I needed a young Korean boy to shoot, and there was so many rules in California and stuff, but the rules didn't go over the border. So I had this actor Aaron Rue get filmed in Toronto. And it's funny because right now we're applying to be a Canadian film, to be on Canadian TV like CBC in Canada. And one of the big things is you have to film in Canada. But that boy was filmed in Canada, so we kind of just made it over the line of, hey, this is Canadian now. So that actually might help us in that he ended up being the picture on the poster that the distributor Breaking Glass made. And the dog itself was Angelo Moore's trumpet player from his band Missing Links. That was your guy's dog.
That was
Yeah, I
the
can't hear
most
you.
plot twist part of your whole, like your imagination and everything was already so random and kitsch and just campy and like a mind F. And then all of a sudden, on top of like some crazy little mini story, short story, at the very end, it's like the X-Files or like some weird Easter egg of like what, like that just was like an outlier of weirdness of your movie. Just so you know.
Yeah, Jeff Riley did the
Like,
effects. Jeff Riley spent a few months doing the effects for that in Toronto, and all the stories except the Coma People story was a nightmare I had, and I got the nightmares I found. If I froze at night and I was cold while I was sleeping, I would have nightmares. So I made myself cold for the winter to keep having these random nightmares to make into. And I'm doing that right now, actually, with this new one. It's weird. It's awful sometimes, but yeah, that's how I write these horror stories.
well, it disturbed me in a really good way. So
Yeah,
Right.
and I try not to stick to one genre. So when I write, I always want to try to do something different. Like we made the movie Stars, which was about homeless women. I did the movie Scumbag, which was kind of like chauvinistic guys and stuff. And I did an LGBTQ documentary. But I thought I've never written a lesbian story yet, so I don't even know if I'm allowed. But I'm gonna try. And that was that story, you know, and I thought it was pretty genuine. You know, I never had any complaints from anybody. So I was like, okay, lesbian stories now marked off, you know, as my writing.
like lesbian story, little foo-foo dog, Korean, Canadian boy, like keywords here.
Right. I have a question. You know, obviously in hip hop culture and obviously in the Black community, horror, there's a huge population that's into it. And there are a lot of people who, you know, you can't get some people to watch scary movies just because of our superstitions and all the kind of other little weird things that go on in the community. So question, what would you say tell your audience and your followers? What do you tell them about this movie?
Well, I think the fun correlation with the Black demographic and horror movies is like it's an ongoing joke, right? We're the first to die, if you will. Like there's all like it's almost like winning an Oscar if a Black person survives a horror film. So
now leave real quick. Leave the house.
So prior to this, you know, I was fortunate enough to survive Joel Silver's 13 Ghosts. So
that was big.
So now I join a distinguished cast of Black actors that have officially survived horror movies. So going into Rufus and with the horror, there's always a marriage of horror and comic relief, especially for Black people that act in horror movies. So I was that for 13 Ghosts and still managed to survive. But I think it's now I think the genre itself is more embraced now, especially with the uptick in the fascination with true crime. I think everyone just kind of finds entertainment in all of these murder doc forensic file type of this genre. So I think once I kind of promote to everyone, hey, I'm in this film, watch it, there's always a sense of people watching it, or if someone learns that there are Black actors in the show, I think there's this kind of like this sensation to find out if that person is going to survive, and if they do survive, how do they do it? Do they kind of laughter? Are they comic relief in their way through it? Are they, did they kick the serial killer's ass? Did they, did they not fall when they ran? I think people are kind of watching Black people in horror now just to see if we're going to play off and serve up the stereotypes or add our own personal twist to it. So it's been fun in that way, I think.
No, you touched on all the really great points. And so talk about um were there any parts in the script where you kind of saw you had to play it a certain way for it not to come off either stereotypical or not and representative of how Black community would react?
Well, it's interesting because when I was watching it with my husband, like there's a particular shtick that I have to do with my character, and you don't really understand what I'm doing or why I'm doing it until the actual reveal. But while we were watching it, he was asking me like, was I nervous or something? Like, why am I doing that? And I had to just be like, you'll see, just stick around. Like there's gonna be a science behind the madness. But once he saw, it was like, oh, okay, that's why you were doing that. He didn't understand why, and I don't want to say what the thing is.
Right, but if I'm hearing you correctly, that means that your acting was so good, your husband was even thrown off.
Yeah, he didn't. He didn't understand why I was performing a particular thing that I was doing, and then once he saw it, it was like, oh, okay. But I think for the most part, with it's important that whatever it is your character is, whatever the end goal is for your character, I think it's always important for actors to add a touch of themselves to it, because that's why you were chosen. There's something about you delivering this particular performance that the director is looking for. So I think it's always important, stick to the script, but definitely add personality to it.
Can you speak on what Rick Ross brings to this movie?
Oh man, so I think just given his illustrious background, there is an element of realness to it. I think he brings an element of realness for the people that may or may not be familiar with his real life backstory. I think it's fascinating just having him involved in the whole production of it in that way. And if you are familiar with his background, it adds that danger element. It has a particular gangster element to it. So if he's this, if he's this weird guy, if you're thinking of Tales from the Hood, and you have the crypt keeper that's scaring the kids and telling the stories, it's like not only is he representing that in the film, but there is a parallel to the real life him. So I think that was
You touch on a really great point, because obviously since he's come home, all he's been doing is telling his story, retelling his story, and versions of his story. And so when I saw him on the poster, me, I'm in the horror. I love all, I'll never forget one night I had on this movie called The Ring when I first got a big flat screen TV in my room, and I fell asleep. And that thing was on so big and so creepy when she was telling me, you know what I'm talking about, David? When she started crawling, hey, I'm not usually scared, but that scared me. So, so I like a good horror movie. And when I saw Rick Ross, I was like, how appropriate is it that he's like the guy giving you the tour through the hood? I could, that for me, him on the poster is what made it like, oh, this is interesting to hear the stories that he would tell. And so in that sense, did it feel really natural, him being that guy?
I felt like it was both life imitating art and art imitating life, because naturally he's playing a character, but it's almost like he's playing a character of himself. So I thought that was pretty cool for Mars to cast him in that role. Naturally, I think with anyone who's fairly new to the acting world, I think there's certain quirks that he may need to brush up on, but that's fine. All of that greenness kind of adds to the raw element of the film.
Yeah, I feel like he brought a really grounding element to the film too, because it kept cutting back to him after each story. So it's like you're seeing this legend of LA holding down this wild imagination of Mars, and it worked really well.
Right.
You know, Annalisa, continue on that thing. When you finally saw the finished film, and I'm going to come to everyone with this, what was your first reaction?
My first reaction was just it was so much fun to watch, because so many stories these days are made with CGI and all this special effects computer animated stuff, and this was just such raw, real, like LA community, like that underground artist thespian community of like people who have a true passion for film and creating art. And it just had such an awesome, that's why it's Mars has cult followers of his movies, is because it's almost theatric, as opposed to you're watching some weird mega budget studio film that's all about like the ratings and the viewings. It's like this was like a project that you got to, if you have a true passion for film and story development and characters and stuff, like it's just a cool guerrilla underground thing to watch. That there needs to be more movies like that, in my opinion.
Sherard?
It's really organic.
Sherard, when you first saw the final finished movie?
You know, we saw it at the Regal Theater in downtown LA, and it was a very nice star-studded event. But it was really cool to see it because, like Annalisa said, it's just nice. I mean, I'm a Tales from the Crypt kind of guy, and a creep show. So I love those kind of things from the 80s and 90s. So, Mars is kind of a nostalgic kind of guy. So it was just really cool to be able to see that on a big screen and to be able to have fun with these various stories that didn't make much sense, but that's the part you love about it.
Right? Jimmy, when you finally saw the finished film, what'd you think?
Okay, there I am. It was cool. I loved it. It's a culture, like Angelina saying. And man, I couldn't believe. I can't believe it that we can all come together and be as one. And Mars did a pretty good job on it. Even though my scene was kind of fast, it kind of, he should have slowed it down a little bit. But other than that, I would love to keep going. I know Spooky from Scumbag, and I don't know what happened to Frank. He's not here.
Yeah, no, it looks like, because maybe, I don't know if Rick was just in a bad area or what have you, but they've been struggling with this. So it looks like we may have to do this again. But Spooky, that was a great layup, a great alley-oop. Your reactions when you saw the finished cut of the movie?
Well, I mean, we went from shooting an entire day just in one room. I was shooting in a hospital room for like the whole day, basically. And then, so that's all I really knew about what the movie looked like, and then cut to 6 months later, suddenly we're in the theater and it's like this whole thing. I mean, it's like 5 other stories. The minute the credits come on, I'm like, wait a minute, Digga, Angelo Moore, these are like all my heroes, and it's like I'm in a movie with these people. It's insane.
And speak on that real quick. The fact that all these music people contributed. What do you think music people bring that seems to add something to these projects?
I think, I don't know. Is it just me? But it seems like a lot of times when musicians switch, musicians have an easy time, I think, to transition from being, going from being on stage playing music to being an actor. You see it all the time. I mean, it's like, it almost seems seamless. Whereas I think it's just because we're used to being on stage just from when we were young on, and something about when you play music, you don't really think about it. I think a lot of times when the problem that actors have is that they're maybe overthinking the emotions. But if you're a songwriter, if you're a live performer, you don't really know why you're moving in a certain way or why you're writing certain words or playing certain notes. It just kind of, it's an extension of your body and of your DNA, really, you know. And so then when you go into acting, you just do what you do as a musician, really. You're just doing the same thing. You don't need to learn how to be an actor because you've been like expressing yourself since you're young, you know. That's my opinion.
No, that's a really great comment. I'm gonna be honest with you. You just guaranteed that you're gonna be clipped for a post.
Okay. Amazing. That's what I want, man. That's what I'm here for.
So David, when you finally saw the finished cut of the movie,
Every time I see a Mars production, the first two words out of my mind, fucking Mars, man. I've known him for some time. We originally met each other through martial arts. We were training Jeet Kune Do some years ago, and Spooky touched on a very good point. I actually played violin for many years as a child, taught myself to play saxophone. My grandfather played stand-up bass with Duke Ellington, so it's in the blood. But artists and art in and of itself is so multifaceted, and they are all linked. One may not specifically focus on a area per se, but everyone has that ability, that whole left brain, right brain thing. When I see a final production such as this, and I see, to me, legendary individuals, everyone humbles themselves, and the whole goal is to tell the story. As wild as it may be, you want to tell the story and be as authentic as possible. I appreciate Mars giving me that much time. I didn't expect all that. And being able to speak Spanish, having Frank right next to me to make sure I say it properly. I don't ever want to butcher a language. All of those things and seeing everyone in their mode is always fantastic for me. And I'm very appreciative of everyone that's here. Absolutely.
Kenneth, when you saw the finished cut of the movie,
it's always a good feeling. It's your baby. Your baby was just born. But for myself, Mars and Debra, it's not over. That's kind of our beginning stage because now we got to get the film festivals. We're looking for distribution. So we got to keep on pushing. This is our beginning.
Debra, when you obviously you're watching the movie all the way through. I want you and Mars both to answer this because you're so hands-on with the film. Is there ever a point to where when you finally watch the film that you're seeing it different, or are you just finally happy that it's done?
I feel like it's a mix of both of those. When he showed me the final cut of this one, because we've done other films, I was like, oh, this one, I think this one's the top film now. Every time I'm like, oh, this one's better than the last one. And so I think there's that relief. And then seeing like the overall thing, seeing all these little clips, trying not to sit over him and be like, why are you using that shot? My lighting's terrible there. And just, you have to like let go and like hang back and let him use the best of what he's seeing and his vision. And it's always an amazing feeling. I'm like, we did it. I think that's my, we did it. I pulled off the effects. They're not just still sitting on a computer somewhere, because I've had people I've known do their own effects for films. And you should have a huge crew for that. And a lot of times people do it on their own and they never finish the movie. So I was like, I'm not going to do that to you. We're getting this done. We're getting this done. And so it's partial relief, and also just seeing, like, to touch on, I think it was Spooky said, just watching everyone, and someone else said, watching everyone just kind of set their egos aside, and his ability to get everyone to focus on this one thing and what they're supposed to be doing, it's just incredible.
Well, I'm sorry, not to,
yes, please,
if I may interject, I just wanted to say, to you, Debra, the first thing I did after I watched the movie, Mars will tell you, I called Mars like, oh, you must have had like a budget for this movie. He's like, no, I just moved some things around and got people that knew what they were doing and just bang it out. I was like, oh, okay, because it looked, for me, just off first glance, the production value looked 10 times greater than, than what we did with Stars. I know Stars was a different tone. It was a more dreary type of ambiance there, but no, kudos to the special effects, to the production, everything. Cause I definitely called Mars as soon as I watched it, like, oh, you must have had money for this one.
Yeah.
Hey,
Didn't
Mars,
have money, but I pulled some favors. I had this person that I used to work with at Patricia Field, Artie Hack, come in as the production designer and do the costumes and do the art direction. And before he worked with me, the last thing he did was win an Emmy Award for his best stylist on Sex and the City. And I guess he had a falling out and left the film industry. And then he came back and he's like, I want to do something, and I'll do wardrobe too. And that, so he kind of brought it to a different level with that, what we're talking about. And I always edit my own films. And this is the first film when I was finished, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this now, because there's the intellectual story, which is like for an audience that's into experimental movies and stuff, or plays. And then there's the standard kind of horror stuff. How am I going to do this? And I was kind of like confused. And a friend of mine from film school happened to be in LA, and we were hanging out, named Blake Vandergraft. And he's like, can I take a look at it and give you points? And I said, I don't like doing that. I make my films, I fund them. I don't want anybody. These are the films I want to make, but all right, go and watch it. Oh, I hate this idea. And then he watched it, and he told me exactly how to fix everything. Take that story, break it in half, move it here, move it there. And that, I was like, wow, I wouldn't have thought of that. This is great. So you made it. Then I was like happy with the film once he got his hands on it and did his thing. And
so, that's my question that I really have for you, and I think you kind of answered part of it. Is there a point where you're able to just watch your own movie as a fan? Just say, I'm just going to watch this for the enjoyment as a viewer.
So I've always terrified, because somehow if I watch the movie later, I'll be like, oh no, there was that one little thing I should have fixed, and it's too late now, and I should have fixed. Like I'll see something all the time, and it gives me I feel uneasy watching them, like I haven't seen Scumbag in, I don't know, many years now, but when I am in the movie theater with people watching it, I have a good time, and I'm like, yeah, I like this. It came out the way I wanted, because so often it could not, and sometimes the actors will be like, I don't know if I liked my acting, or I don't, and I'll tell them, you acted exactly the way I wanted you to act. So it came out the way I wanted it to be, so don't let whoever say whatever, because I'm the filmmaker, and it came out the way I wanted it to be. So you did it,
And to make any actor feel better that works with him, when he's looking at the footage, he really does. We've seen some things where people really struggled, and I watched him turn it into something. So whatever he's choosing because that's what he's wanting to see. If it's kind of a campy part of the film, then it's going to be camp, and you're fine. You can't, he makes his choices. Basically, I've seen him do it enough.
Said it. You can't overthink it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Angelo, I intentionally saved you for last, because I wanted you to help give the flowers on this. When you saw the full movie, when you saw the final movie, what did you think? You're on mute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So what you're asking me, like, what did I think about the final version or the outcome?
Yes.
Of the movie, right?
Yes.
Well, I thought to myself, it's one of these, it's like one of them underground organic movies, like a European style horror movie that it ain't the kind that you don't really get to see in the movie theaters. You got to go like to some of these underground theaters to be able to see this kind of stuff, like the way it's put together, right? That's one thing I liked about it. And I thought to myself, wow, man, they got me. Mars put me all in this. He put me all in it, more than I thought I was going to be in there, right? Which is good too, because I've always wanted to be an actor. I've always said to myself, man, I want to be an actor. So after a while, I kind of gave up, because wasn't nothing coming through for me in life. when it came to acting and shit. So when Mars reached out to me, I was like, and Mars was the only one that pretty much reached out to me. You and maybe maybe two other people in my life who really saw that I had some kind of actor in me, and he put me in it, and I got to play these characters that was kind of like right up my alley. and I thought, oh man, okay, the hardest part were the handcuffs in the middle of the field. And Mars be changing his mind a lot too. At first that got on my nerves a little bit, but I was like, you know what? I guess if somebody's changing their mind off and on, that means they are a creative and they're not scared to stray from the script.
Hey, by the way, my Zoom is haunted, and my Zoom is haunted and has constantly been giving everybody thumbs up. I'm just glad I haven't been thumbs upping you during some sad story or something. It's doing it now, and I'm not even controlling it.
Right there. I see it.
Why it's doing that?
A little thumb up in the corner. As I see one up there going right there up in the corner.
I wasn't sure if that was the great story or 30 seconds left. 30 seconds left.
It's a great story, but I'm not actually touching anything. And Angelo was the composer for the movie too. We didn't mention that.
Right. Oh my God. Thanks for reminding me of saying. I'm like, I'm forgetting here. So right, and not only did I act in it more than I thought I was going to be acting, I'm like, okay, good. I get to see how good how I handle these acting parts, because I'm always looking at all these other musicians, which are actors. Every time when I first realized that Ice Cube was an actor, I never realized that Ice Cube wasn't the actor like he wasn't. Every time I would see him act, I was like, God damn, man, I only thought he rapped, but he's like he's a badass actor, right? And I'm like, man, if he could do that shit, I could do it too. So Mars put me in the actor seat to be able to do that. And the feedback that I get from people of how I acted in the movie, I'm like, oh really? I was doing that good, like you're saying. I'm like, okay. And then I got to put my music in the movie, which is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time too. Is all my music that I make, all the arrangements that I be putting together, all the instruments and shit that I'm playing, man, I got to put that in a movie, which is kind of like on the avant-garde tip, because I love myself some avant-garde, right? So I got to put it in there, and I get to hear my music played back on some of the parts that I'm acting on. So I could cross that off my list, man. That's some bucket list shit right there.
That's a really great place for us to put a pin.
America, welcome to IPTV.